as a musician, you have like a very stressful life, to be honest. Like we were running 24/7 every single day. And I never thought that there would be like a place that you can actually do meditation, for example, in order to like kind of like improve your art making.
It requires some work, to be honest, on yourself, but it's worth it. You live a life way better. At the end, the musical result and the artistic result, actually, it could be as good or sometimes even better.
Today we're chatting with a musician couple from Venezuela, Gabriela and Gustavo, now part of the Shen Yun Orchestra. But how did two South American musicians end up performing Chinese music with a company in New York? This is their take on Shen Yun Performing Arts.
Gabby and Gustavo, how did you guys meet?
We're from Caracas, both of us. We had our music classes every single day, like 3-4 hours per day, something like that. And we met there. I mean, we've known each other since that time.
So how did you go from there to actually professional musician?
That was the cool thing, that we had the option of the university or the conservatory. The conservatory is not going to be like a bachelor's degree, but it's something close to a bachelor's degree. So we finished the conservatory and we stayed with the orchestra. So the orchestra was like every single day, like 3 to 7 p.m. or something like that. And weekends we will have concerts. So then like we actually never stopped that.
And then we came to the United States.
Right.
And
What made you come to the U.S.?
We came in 2014, right at the end of 2014, to pursue our master's degree.
Yeah.
And why did you choose New York?
Well, it's a long story. Do we have to?
Sure.
Well, not that long, I don't think.
We thought about going to Europe because pretty much all our friends were going to Europe. But then Gustavo was like, oh, I really would like to go to the States.
Where did that come from?
Spider-Man movies.
Spider-Man movies? It's not from watching...
He has always liked the States. But this is the funny story. We were invited to play with the Miami Symphony Orchestra. I was playing second bassoon. The first bassoon was a teacher in Boston. I kind of like invited me to come to Boston. So then like we started doing the research and everything. But there is this guy in my country. Is it an astrologer or something? This guy is really, really good. Like really, really good for real. I mean, at that time we knew that he was good, but he's really, really good.
By now we know.
By now, yeah. So then like Gustavo was like, we need to go with that guy.
So what did he tell you?
It seems like a good moment to go.
Yeah. So then like we went to his house and they give you tea and whatever. And then he reads, like he asks you the time that you were born and the specific date of your birth. And then he told me like, oh, I see you guys like going... that you're going abroad. Yeah. But I think that you guys are thinking about Miami. But don't go to Miami. I see mountains. You should go to like New York, Boston, that area over there.
The East Coast of the United States.
Don't go to the South. So just go to that area.
Yeah. So my plan B, it was doing some music engineering. Since I finished my computer engineering, so I can specialize also, like in recording, so something, because I already have, been working with my ear and listening, and I have certain training at least in the classical academic field of the music. And New York, in the NYU, have one of the best.
They're very well. They're very well known
within that department.
So when did you actually make the decision? Okay, New York it is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Right after that.
Actually, my teacher, the one who offered me the scholarship in Boston, sent me an email. I just got hired in SUNY Purchase, New York. So do you prefer New York or do you prefer Boston? So I was like, come on.
Yeah,
so then we just like made a plan for New York.
Too many signs.
Yeah.
So.
And did you finish your master's degree then at SUNY?
Yeah,
yes,
we did.
We did.
And did you go straight from there to Shen Yun?
No, we had 1 year. Before coming
1 year and a half. I was in Miami Symphony Orchestra.
So you're kind of splitting time.
Exactly. We were like kind of like traveling back and forth.
And how did you first hear about Shen Yun? Which one of you heard about it first?
It was me, because I was doing some assistantship at the conservatory, and then there was this lady who came to offer materials for Shen Yun auditions.
That's in SUNY Purchase.
That was a SUNY Purchase. And then like the director of the school wasn't there because it was a Friday afternoon, I think. And then like some people were busy. They were like, oh yeah, she comes every year, but just like take the materials and just tell her that yes, sure, we'll post everything. But then I got curious, and I was, because I didn't know, so I was like, I mean, I'm not the director, I'm not the coordinator, but you can talk to me, I guess. And then she like sat down with me. She started explaining the auditions and like the orchestra and how Shen Yun works up, like how it kind of like works out. I saw some posters in the past from the symphony orchestra, and then but we never got to go to one of the concerts at Carnegie.
The Shen Yun Symphony Orchestra.
Yeah. So then like she told me like, oh, you could audition for the orchestra if you like. And then like she also started like talking about the things that we do in terms of like meditation and trying to like become just like better person through like the spirituality.
And how that all this improvement can be canalized and transmitted through your art, whatever it is.
Exactly.
You know? So it could be like a musician, it could be, I don't know, a dancer, or it could be even a painter. You know, really any art, any performing art, or any art, pop art. You know.
But it was very interesting because as a musician, you have like a very stressful life, to be honest. Like we were running 24/7 every single day. And I never thought that there would be like a place that you can actually do meditation, for example, in order to like kind of like improve your art making. So I was like, that sounds very interesting. Yeah, you can actually slow down and improve your art, which you don't have time to improve because you're just like running around and trying to get the money to pay your rent, to pay your stuff, right? So then like it kind of like got stuck with me. But then also I saw like the audition post online. There is like this website that musicians go to when you're looking for more auditions, because of course like you're all the time doing auditions everywhere. You travel around the country just making auditions every single month.
Sounds like kind of like being an actor, constantly looking for a new job.
Yeah, it's literally the same thing. And you see the same group of people traveling with you everywhere. So it's the
like
same group of people.
Maybe a little more noisy in the rooms. When people are practicing before the audition. But you know, like it's basically about the same.
Did you introduce it to him then or not yet?
I mean, he was more stable than me in terms of like, because he had like two main orchestras that he was playing with. I was more like doing little things, like a bunch of little things. So I guess that for me was like, I'm just gonna try. And then I got into the company, like I did the audition.
Where was the audition?
The audition was at the headquarters of Shen Yun.
What does that audition look like?
You're just like standing on stage and you just have like the classics. Like you have to play, for example, like some solos from Stravinsky, Beethoven, Mozart symphonies, Haydn symphonies, Bolero from Ravel. I had to play the Mozart bassoon concerto, just like the standard, I guess. You just like literally present what I've been presenting like for months. And then they do like some sight reading. Like you have to sight read a few pieces from them. And that was pretty much it. It was like a very simple audition, like 15 minutes, maybe less than 15 minutes. And then like I was told that I like won a spot into the company. So if I wanted to start right away. And then after a month, because I started talking to Gustavo and I was like, oh, you know, like, I think that this is like a very interesting place. And they're also asking me if you're a musician and if you would like to audition for it. So I mean, no pressure, but if you would like to audition, I think that you should do it. I think that it's a good thing. And we might be working in the same place, so which would be very, very nice, because at that time we were just like, you know, like running around.
Yeah, I made the audition as well. It seems like a scary moment, but it kind of is. But you you get used to that sort of feeling. So I got in like 2 months
month later.
Were you two married already at this point?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we were married.
We got married in 2016.
Yeah, we were married by that time, and so we started our journey with Shen Yun.
What was it like for you two to actually be in the same place together for a change?
It felt really nice.
It felt natural. Because
we've been together like for so many years since we were 13 years old. We've been in the same school, the same orchestra. So we've been like spending our afternoons every single day for so many years together. So it felt like nice to go back to the usual for
So
us.
that was one part of home that they actually said, oh, it feels like,
Yeah,
you
it
know,
felt like home because of course you don't have those times like when you're like running around like, oh, it's 6, I haven't had lunch, and you're just like it's just really crazy. It's very stressful. So to breathe, to be able to breathe, it
And I
was
see
really
you guys
nice.
eating together regularly at the cafeteria.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah,
Pretty
yeah.
much,
Yeah, all the time.
Yes.
And I think that that's a big thing, like to be able to do that, because we know our friends, like they don't spend like, you know, like as much time, like we appreciate so much, just like even having lunch together for us is like a very precious thing.
Yeah. The small things.
Yeah, very small thing, but it's a big thing for us, I think.
What was it like coming into Shen Yun and into the community there?
In Shen Yun, the company Shen Yun, as an artist, musician, and dancer, we were the only one that we were from South America, right? When you get into a place that 90%, 95% is from one nationality or one culture, and you come from a different culture, it's gonna be some certain things that at the beginning it doesn't feel natural to you. That sort of thing happened just for like 3 weeks, a month, which is incredible, because we're coming
I
from
mean,
a
for me,
different.
I felt that everyone was Chinese. To be honest, like I was like, okay, so everyone is Chinese, everyone speaks Chinese, no one is gonna understand me. But then you get there and you see that there are Americans, there are Australians, there are people from Taiwan, from Japan, from Korea, South Korea, from Europe, from all around the world. So you're like,
what I meant,
you don't feel like
exactly. But what I meant, we were very. We felt welcomed. We felt that we were an outsider, and like people were genuinely good with us, and we know that by now. At the beginning, we thought like, oh, they're just being nice, but actually they meant it. I mean, after many years, we know.
Yeah.
It was very enriching. The way that we start getting to know the Eastern culture. But that traditional Eastern culture is not the one that we kind of thought it was going to be.
How is it different?
The way that they see life, it's very very interesting because it's calm. You can see they are not super stressed about many daily things that we might actually we were actually getting
very
super stressed
out about.
But at the same time they work with certain ethic and diligence that it seems like in opposite side. How can you be just calm and I'm being but at the same time
be efficient,
and get the things done. That sort of combination that I think is that mental strength that we start developing, get interesting about it, because it's not about to the outside, but actually the inside. How can you actually manage yourself? I'm trying to sum it up. It's really hard to put in words. You really have to go through. You really have to be in Shen Yun to kind of feel that. To kind of get within that sort of peaceful mind, but at the same time do things at high level and well done.
Gabby, you've known Gustavo since you were 13. Has he changed at all during his time at Shen Yun?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Like a lot. I mean, I love him, of course, right? But then he was very disorganized. And I'm a very organized person. Like, I like to, like plan everything. Like, the pencil has to be horizontal, like, or vertical, but not twisted a little. No. Everything has to look better. And he's totally the opposite of me on that, for example. I mean, meaning in everything, to be honest. Like, he was like, I mean, he has been a great musician. Like, he has been a very big inspiration for me, to be honest, like, since I met him. Because he's a very proactive person, and he's very talented, and he had like so many easily done musical ideas that I never had that, I don't know, talent to do, or I am not too sure how to describe it. But he was very disorganized, and that would drive me crazy. And I think that after we started coming to Shen Yun, I mean, of course, at the end of the day, it becomes like a kind of like a personal project for you to check inside of you and to like try to work on yourself better. But for him, it was also like about what can I do to become a better person, to become a better musician, to become a better husband as well, to become a better son for his parents. And it's like you start like putting all these thoughts and like trying to, okay, so what can I do to become better? And I think that when you start doing that in a very genuine way, it affects everything without even having the pursue percept. That's what I mean, that maybe he wasn't like per se trying to become more organized so I didn't get upset, for example. So but he naturally became more organized. He was very, like, he's not like a person to be in time ever. Like, he's all the time late. Like, he has that like our friends, they know him for that. And he became like more in time person. Like, he had to like change his schedule and just like wake up earlier and try to like be more efficient and whatever, so he will like try to like make things in time. So I think that one was like a very big change. And I think that it's the same for me. Like, when I see him that he's working on something, so I take care of something else. So it kind of like also affects the dynamic of the relationship. Also, like for me, I think that I was always like a very stressed out person. Like, I had no patience at all. Like, I was a very stressful person, and I know that I put a lot of pressure on him sometimes. And even for me, it's been very, very good to also analyze myself and, okay, so what can I do to become better? Like, how can I improve to not like be affecting him so much all the time that he feels so stressed out? And even it made me like change the relationship with his parents, like with his mom, for example. It helped me to like also like kind of like see the other side of the boat in a kind of way, or the coin, and became just like more harmonious. And that has had like a very good result in our marriage too, because we're like now more, you know, in a harmonious environment, I think.
Did those changes come about organically, just over time, being part of the environment? How did it come about?
Came organically for sure.
Definitely.
Those sort of change, it doesn't happen. It's not a pill that you take and then the next day you are, oh, see, and I'm better in this regard. Or, I'm doing things that I didn't like to do, and now I'm doing it. And not only I'm doing it, I'm happy about it.
Yeah.
When you're in an environment that works and works, not only works good, but works very good with this sort of patient, sort of compassion to the other, to your neighbor, and in every aspect, in the music, outside, at work, or any kind of project that you're doing, start becoming part of your life, right? And
Like, you start see like the effect, the negative effect,
absolutely,
or the positive effect within the community. And I think that that's the very big thing about us in Shen Yun, that the environment helps you to change these things, because you start thinking about others before you. So it's like it's like in the orchestra too. When you're a musician, you might have your own ideas, but if the conductor says that that idea doesn't work, you need to let it go. So it's exactly the same thing. Of course, in a regular environment, sometimes the musician will get upset and just stand up and leave. And you might not do it. Like, you don't care. Yeah, you're not a good conductor. I will do whatever I want. But in our environment, it's like you think about it like, oh, maybe that person like is being asked to have these in that way because it's what it works for the dancers. Like, there are so many little factors that you start to consider, and you're like, let me just like do it because it might affect something else, so let me just go with it. And I think that what it makes you like change generally, because you think about it and you're like, I can't just like have my way because it might affect others.
But even if it doesn't affect others, like sometimes just what you want is get your way, regardless of what the idea is, and someone else's, especially in the arts, everything is so subjective that it gets to a point. So is it worth it to pick a fight? Is it too strong of a phrase, or to get the environment a little bit more foggy, just for getting my way, or actually something could work as well as my idea and get the environment very good? So then you realize that the idea wasn't important at all. It was just there in order to make the best out of while we're doing it, you know. So you start, I guess, progressing in the musical aspect at the same time that in your character. It takes courage to do, because at the beginning you might feel, oh, I'm losing my way, or you know, they might seem to me like I don't know any better, or you know, like you're putting yourself down, and you know, someone is gonna get higher in the ladder of, you know, like you know, all that kind of stuff. I think it's natural to come, especially at the beginning, but then you realize that at least in Shen Yun, you know, some I can really take talk about some other places. Maybe in some other places that's true, you know, to be honest. So you say what you gotta say, and if that idea of that, you know, project, yes, basically that you're saying at that moment, it gets into it, it is taking into account, great. But if it's not, that's not important, because you realize that at the end, you know, everything just worked out the best.
Did you, Gustavo, ever have like a really strong argument or disagreement with like a conductor?
I did, in my head.
In my head.
Yeah, I mean, arguments you're gonna have, you know, but heating arguments, and when things gets a little bit out of control just because you want your way, well, to be honest, I don't remember having that, but that's part of my personality naturally. But I would say, you know, some things I would say like, why are we doing this? But then at the end, you know, it made sense from a different perspective, and you know, it was okay, it was all right, you know. At the end, you gotta get used to it, to having being some people adopt different ideas, sometimes yours, sometimes different ideas, and you being okay with that. Actually, like, it's fine. It really is fine. It's not like, oh, you become humble and, you know, I'm taking maybe at the beginning, but I guess it's all right. Actually, it's fine.
Do you think it helped you improve it as a musician?
Yeah, but more as a person, to be honest. You know, because as a musician, yeah, you get different perspective all the time. You know, you get ideas from different teachers, you get ideas from different conductors, from different colleagues. You know, that's not uncommon. Actually, it's our daily life. You know, oh, let's do this. No, let's do this. Oh, how about this? How about that? You know, that's nothing that we weren't used to, because you can be okay in your mind, okay, so let's let it go, you know, okay, this is fine, you know. But if you're not okay in your heart, you know, after the 10th time or 12th time again, you know, it's when we go, you know, I let you wait like 10 times, you know, at least give me this, but at the end it wasn't because that 11th time was the best, it's just because you were tired of those 10 times before that it didn't go your way, you know. It requires some work, to be honest, on yourself, but it's worth it. You know, you live a life way better. At the end, the musical result and the artistic result, actually, it could be as good or sometimes even better. So, not worth it.
Hey, Gabby, you performed with quite a few other orchestras before.
Yeah.
How would you compare the orchestra culture or the company culture in Shen Yun and the other places?
I think it's pretty different, and especially because I play a woodwind instrument. Woodwind instruments were like pretty much like soloist instruments,
There's
right?
only one
Yeah,
bassoon.
yeah.
There's only
So
one
for
flute.
example, in our company, like the dance company, we're just one, like one trumpet, one bassoon, one oboe. And with the symphony orchestra also is like two, 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 two. And when you're in the regular orchestra performing Beethoven, performing Brahms,
Is it because they're
performing...
not accompanying dance? Is that what you mean? Or
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. There is just like a symphony orchestra,
Right.
X city, for example, and you're performing another kind of repertoire or whatever. Usually the woodwind players are very, you know, they really want to get their way, like with the conductors. So then it's like a lot of back and forth with the conductor, between the woodwinds and the conductor, and that, like, it was so tiring at some point. I was just really tired because I was like, why we just don't do it? And that's it, you know, because at some point you just get tired of the back and forth. And I think in Shen Yun, of course, I'm not gonna lie, at some point I've had, like, he keeps it for himself, but I don't keep it to myself. Like, I actually said it, and I will say I don't agree with that. Like, I don't think that the phrase should be going that way because it doesn't work out. And so then, but I think that also it made us realized, both of us, that we needed to know a little bit more about the dancing aspect, because we're not proficient in Asian culture. So we needed to be humble about that. And I think that that's like the biggest thing that I could definitely like kind of like set on what the orchestras that I work in the past with and with Shen Yun, that the cultural is a different, like the music that we perform, it's totally different. It's a very traditional Chinese music, and it has like, it's just like, for example, in Western music, the music, it's very powerful in terms of harmony. Like Western music is very well known for the harmony. So for us, like the harmony is like a big aspect, like you feel it and then you go with your feeling and you go and but then sometimes when we perform our Shen Yun pieces, it's more about melodies, like little melodies. So for example, the bassoon doesn't have too much in terms of harmony and, you know, holding chords and things like that, that makes you like, oh, so this is the fifth and this is the seven, and you know, you're like, okay, so it's gonna resolve now. You don't have those moments like a lot of times, so you need to like kind of like become a different kind of musician and understand more the melody and the phrasing and things like that. So I think that that also helps you in your heart to understand that there are like different things, and you understand the differences about the musical making as well. So when we make the music in the orchestra in Shen Yun, I mean the whole process of music making, it's like every single person is just like paying attention to what is going on, like, oh, what is like this melody, where is it going from? But you also need to think about, like, for example, we're performing water sleeves, you need to think about the sleeves of the dancers, like, are they reaching the maximum point at that end of your phrase? So, you know, it's like a big combination, because now it's not just knowing your part, it's knowing how your part fits that thing. So for example, when we perform Little Monk, that one is like one of like the funny dances from on stage. So usually the bassoon is like the grandpa or the old teacher, or you know, so you need to like know, okay, so what's the teacher doing, what's the grandpa doing at that time, so I can match what he's trying to do, and maybe I can help him a little bit more with my articulation. So then I try different articulations and I ask the conductor, does that work with that? Because of course I can see the stage, but then you see the dancer and you're like, okay, so maybe I can be shorter, I can be longer. So I think that it becomes like a very interesting process of music making. And also like you get to know your colleagues better, you work with them together and you're like, oh, what about we try this, what about we try that? I mean, at the end of the day, you do this in every single environment, but I feel like sometimes it's not too much about like what I want to do, what I think we should do. It's more about like, oh, what's happening and what can I do to make it better, or to make it a little bit more exciting, or a little bit more calm, or something like that. And that improves your technique for sure, because you have more options in your articulation, your dynamics, and things like that.
Yeah, it's basically understanding your role. So when you understand your role, whatever it is, so and you're good with that, so it's basically, you know, like a good actor that gets into the character, but he really believe it, and then is when the actor is good, you know, when he actually gets into the character, but he believe at least when he's performing, rather than trying to recreate something, you know, out of his, you know, in his mind, oh, this should be like this should be like this, but it's something that is not completely from inside, you know. So you start seeing, what can I do to contribute in this, more or less in the same way that we do within the music, you know, start becoming part of yourself. How can you be in good harmony with the people that work with you and work for you at the same time, but how you contribute to make that environment better.
Have you ever played Chinese music before?
We did, but actually the interesting thing in Shen Yun, it's like we haven't played this kind of music, because this music, it's based with Western instruments, Western rules of composition, but within the music, within the Chinese sort of approach, which is the melody, and we know we have some Chinese instrument for sure, of course, but the big majority of the orchestra is a Western orchestra. You know, we have violin, viola, cello, bassoon, and we have a pipa and an Erhu, right? That is two soloist instrument in the Chinese instrument. So this combination with the composer know heavily about the Chinese culture, Chinese music, but they use Western, the Western
Instrumentation.
instrumentation and the way of writing
the composing,
in the composing. So that we didn't play it before.
How do you, as somebody who grew up in Venezuela, came to the U.S., joined Shen Yun, get into the role of like a Chinese legend, of a hero, or this kind of this more gentle like palace dance or something like that?
Yeah, the way of really getting into that role, it's really want to know what was, you know, at that period, at that time, you know, what really was in that Asian culture, you know, in Chinese culture. We get a lot of information, and there's a lot of people, you know, in Shen Yun that really are experts in this part of history, and then you understand how deep, and somehow there's a big connection with when you see Shen Yun, and there's some people in the audience that they felt some kind of connected, and I heard themselves, you know, on some of the interview that they say at the end of the show, that they didn't feel that super outsider what was happening. You know, there's some kind of connection, some kind of familiar feeling for what is happening, you know. So it's, you first get that sort of knowledge in a theory manner, but then with the, you see the dancers and you see the choreography, which by the way they are pretty good, you know, they are phenomenal dancers, and the connection start becoming almost immediately. And you need some work, you need some kind of people telling you, oh yeah, oh maybe a little bit here, you know, in the really Chinesey way of playing some of the parts, but that connection is a little bit easier than you might think. You know, you have to be there. Well, actually, for the people who haven't seen the show, when they go there and they see it, they will know what I mean by that.
Well, but for bassoon, don't you have the leitmotif for Pigsy usually? In the past, I think it was.
Yeah, we do it with the trombone actually.
Okay.
Trombone is like the main character because they can do more glass. We don't do glass, of course, but we are part, like we support the trombone in that part. For bassoon, usually it's just like, you know, like the old teacher or sometimes the funny guy in one of the guys' stories. I don't think that we do too much when it's like a girl's dance, to be honest. That's more like flute, oboe. For example, now I'm thinking about Mongolian, for example, when we perform a Mongolian dance. I'm like, oh, Mongolian, you know, the grassland looks so beautiful. So I think that it helps you a lot when you understand, like the girls at the palace, they behave in a very, very different way. And this line story works in another way. So you need it. I mean, you need it to make the music like kind of like be the same that what's happening stage.
When you're watching rehearsals, do you sit like with other bassoonists or other violinists and say, oh, that's interesting, the interpretation here, and you talk?
Absolutely.
Oh, yes.
Absolutely.
Yes, we do that.
And yes, and that's the beauty of it. Sometimes actually we agree and we think, oh, actually that's a good idea, you know. And sometimes it happens.
And you copy something from them.
But it happens. So the beauty of Shen Yun is like we have big guidelines, but still we have a very small, you know, like room for certain individualities that actually makes it natural to us. We're not trying to copy to the 100% all these 8 companies to be like, you know, like basically the same stem. But no, it's about the same. And actually in the general say yes. But for the musician, at least, there's a small
and dancers
room.
too, and MCs too, for sure.
Like room for actually having your interpretation within the boundaries, obviously, of the Chinese, you know, culture or the musical, you know,
or
like,
the whole show.
The musical, yes, exactly. So, and that's the beauty of it, that we actually, and basically that's how we learn from each other.
Is it what you expected? Did you hear anything about Shen Yun, life at Shen Yun before you joined? Did you talk to other people, other musicians?
I mean, at the beginning, when I was about to do the audition, actually, I mean, we didn't know anything about Shen Yun per se. Like, we didn't know, like, what was it about. we kind of like got to know based on they sent me the link when I applied for the audition. They sent me the link of the Shen Yun website, and then we saw like like how we do meditation, like some like like little trailers from other pieces, like from other years, some of the like the dancers and like the showcases or things like that. So it was just like a video pretty much from YouTube, just to like kind of like to show the company. And I guess that was like the main thing, like the first thing that I saw. But I remember that when I shared with my colleagues that I was gonna audition for Shen Yun, I remember that one of my colleagues, like, she immediately went online and to look up Shen Yun, and then she called me and she was like, "Do you know that that's a cult?" And I was like, "What?" And she's like, "Yeah, it is a cult." And she sent me it was an article from some newspaper from the States. And then, I mean, I didn't want to read it. So I was like, I mean, I already applied for the audition. I mean, I don't really want to read it. So then she started reading it for me. And they were just like saying like very weird stuff. And to be honest, for us that we're coming from a communist country, for me, it was actually almost a push to like actually confirm by myself if he was or not. And then at that time, like when I joined Shen Yun, like I didn't even have like, like, is it a cult? Like I wasn't even afraid. I was just like, I don't think so. Like in my heart, there was something that was telling me, I mean, you could see that people were meditating. I met that person who went to purchase and explain things to me. Then I went to the headquarters to have my audition, and I met people and I talked to them, and they all seemed so normal. And I was like, a cult won't be this normal. So I was like, no. And then actually I had the opportunity to invite that colleague to a show, and she went to the show with her family and her kids and everything, and she was actually really impressed. And she asked me like, "Are you okay? Are you happy there?" And I was like, "I've never been happier in my life by being there." And whatever you read or whatever we saw online, I can totally guarantee you that it is not real. Like it's totally not real. And I can totally tell you that from the bottom of my heart. And she was like, "I truly believe you." Like, I mean, she knew me and she knows that I'm not gonna be lying to her. But it's kind of hard. I get it. Like there's like so much information outside. The first thing that, like, all the first things that you're gonna see are gonna be like things like people writing stuff bad about us or things like that. But immediately when you start having contact with one of us, like, and you talk to us and you go to the show and you just go and check it out by yourself, like, just don't read the things online and stay with that vision. Just like go and make your own judgment, because sometimes like people are actually wrong and you need to confirm that by yourself. And I really hope that people, if they haven't seen the show, they can just like go and just like make the decision by themselves and not just like by reading stuff online.
It's sometimes it saddens me when you read these sort of articles of news of fake stuff around the internet, because anything can be said just to get down one company or to get down one, in this case, Shen Yun. The repercussions actually are big in people like us. That that's not true, but how can you prove it? Like saying to people, "No, that's not true." People could say, "Oh yeah, of course you're gonna say it because you're there," or "How can I believe you? I don't know you." But we really have to think why they are going sometimes so hard against a performing company. I mean,
Why do you think?
It was weird to me at the beginning when I heard, and I understand, why it could be weird to people. Like, why a big country, or a big government, or the Communist Party goes against a performing company. What a performing company is going to be that big that it's going to really affect when the message, it really gets to people in the audience, for example in the Shen Yun show, and it really stick to them in a more than a superficial way. It really gets to your heart, the good traditional values, or what it's being hidden from all of us from the China. It really was like the good that China, you know, like when you see on those movies, like old Chinese movie, that you see people like really well mannered sages,
noble,
yeah. So all coming from that, you don't see too much of that in you know, in the Chinese community right now in China. And the Communist Party is against us is because all those traditional values, all those, you know, like make people think for themselves, and having that good heart, it doesn't align too well with the Communist Party speech. So all the message that is getting all around the world, it actually, it apparently is taking a toll on them, and they don't want us to you know, to be spread all around. And if you think about it, people start realizing the truth.
we're becoming too influential, maybe.
And then, you know, we're not talking about only regular people. You know, we're seeing big figures in the in any field. You know, I don't want to say only in the political field, but you know, it could be in the artistic field. You know, big influencers, so that they are seeing the show, and some of them, they really get touched by it in a way that it really changed their perspectives to the Chinese culture, to the real not Communist Party of China, and what the truth and beauty of all Shen Yun and the culture. So it's actually a big thing. It's not just a performing show.
Yeah. How do you feel like this meditating and that experience, how do you feel like that's changed you?
I'm a whole different person. And I know that I still have room for more improvement, but it's like I am able to be so much more calm, to be able to kind of like let myself out of a situation. It's just like kind of like see the big picture of it. But we never thought that actually meditation and these kind of like, you know, like exercises might actually help you with your energy, like inside your body. You can actually make things work better. I never thought that that was like the purpose of meditating. I always thought that it was like, oh, just sit there and be quiet, and your thoughts are not going to be there anymore. That's what I thought, because that's what we think in Western society, I think. But really with the meditation, you're also like, when you're very committed into it, of course, like when your mind is not like driving crazy and you're like really, really calm, it actually helps your body to function better, to move all those energy channels that might be blocked by stress. But we also understand that, you know, like there are things that we can manage, there are things that we cannot manage.
Yeah, and basically it makes you, all the decisions that you're gonna make are really a little more rational. By you being in a better state, you know, you will affect people around you in a good way. So people actually will feel a little bit better when they're around you. You know, you actually have a little bit better influence in people. You know, it could be with your instrument, or it could be talking to them in certain regards.
I remember like when we'd go to lunch together, meet at the cafeteria, and you'd always have an AirPod in one ear, and we'd be just chatting, we'd be eating and we'd like talking about baseball or something. You know, we both follow baseball a little bit. And then you'd be like, hold on a second, and you switch to Spanish. And then I would realize you're actually on the other line. What has it been like for you guys?
Well, it's not easy, because being on tour, you know, it's like being almost 5 months away from home, from your family. Even though that you are doing what you like, you know, and to be honest, we are not the first one. You know, there are some people in the military that, you know, they go away for a long time, or even some other musicians that go on tour. You know, we are not that. This is not like we're unique in that in this particular aspect. But you know, it doesn't make it any easier either. You know, when you are a month away from family. So we keep each other in communication, at least when we have like common time zone.
Yeah.
I mean, to us it seems like you're talking to each other all the time.
But the internet
I mean, we do, because like, for example, like if he's in Europe and I'm in America, of course, like he's gonna, like it's gonna be pretty much his afternoon when I wake up. So I try to wake up as early as I can. Sometimes like we're working out and we're chatting, like we're working out and chatting. We're having breakfast and we're chatting, like literally every single minute that we can squeeze in, we try to squeeze it in, because it's like it's I mean, for me, I think that it's been the hardest, especially my first 2 years was really, really hard. Like I will be crying and it was like really, really, really hard. But I guess it's not that you get used to it. I don't think that you get used to it, but you manage it better. But also you need to like kind of like keep the focus on your, like, you know, like in the performing and in the shows that we have to do. And also I also realized that because I was getting like so, you know, like all the time, I was so sad and whatever, so I was affecting him too, because he was like kind of like worried about me. So then, you know, like I realized I need to also like kind of like keep it together so I don't affect him. So I guess that for us, like the chatting as much as we can, and I guess that makes up for it in a kind of way.
By the third, fourth month, and you start feeling a little bit alone. You know, like no, you have great company, absolutely, but that sort of family tie start kicking in. Strong blood family, because you know we
Yeah.
have another family which is our colleagues there that actually make the things way easier. So
Yeah.
so the community actually makes it a little bit easy because all people are, you know, friendly, and we share with each other, and we, you know, we're all on the same boat, so we strengthen each other in different ways. Especially the first 2-3 years was
Yeah.
harder. It doesn't make it super easy now, but definitely it's been better.
I know you have to go teach. I can keep talking to you for a long time, but I better let you go. It's been super nice talking to you guys.
No,
It's
thank you,
been
thank
so
you.
nice to talk to you.
Yeah, it's been nice. It's been nice.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Thank you so much.